we are, nominations committee, June 14th of the RHDC. Go forth. Staff is listening and taking notes as needed.
Right. Okay. So, Gaston, you were saying that sounded like you were saying that we would like to keep you involved and get you on a committee. And which one do you want? I guess I'm more inclined to try to put them where we think they ought to want and make them an offer instead of putting the burden back on them, and which is a little bit different. But that would be the reason for having this discussion now is so that we can look through that spreadsheet and try to go from there. But at least those were my thoughts.
I think that's better. I think that's a better idea.
So anyway, I'm handicapped because I can't, or at least I haven't so far been able to get at the spreadsheet because I got you all on my laptop and I got to work through my telephone to find the spreadsheet. And so, but let's just go ahead and go down the list and think about where, because at one point we sort of had them penciled in about the time we finished our nominating committee work as to what names we're going to send to council. We had several of the others that we were specifically thinking they would be good on community awareness or on research. We couldn't really put any of them on COA, but that was the general drift of where we were going. And hopefully, Tanya or Kay, one of y'all got notes of when we were going down through and making those marks beside the names.
I got some sketchy notes. So I think we had Mike Davis because he has a PR background for community awareness. And at that time we were talking about either Sandy Feaster or Bridget Gimbel on research. Bridget Phillips, I'm sorry.
And and both of those names are up for city council tomorrow.
Bridget Phillips and Sandy Feaster are up to be voted on tomorrow. So one of them will be selected.
And so I would say take the other one and put them on research and offer that to them.
Yeah. Hey, anybody know real quick what the name of the spreadsheet was and who sent it? I'm just, or bunk it in the chat or what?
Tanya sent it, and I don't.
Was it actually this Excel file?
It's an Excel spreadsheet, yes, as an attachment, which would have been on something that would be talking about nominations of potential members. I'm not sure what the.
That's fine. I'm just trying to find it in my.
I'm talking unmuted. I can tell you what it was called. It would have been called RHDC Interest.
All right, thank you.
Is how it would started, and then there's the one.
There should be two.
Yeah, the most recent one I sent is dated March 9th. So it's RHDC Interest dash 2021-0309.
All right.
All right. Well, so on Mike Davis, I think they are semi-retired and spending half their time at Roaring Gap, and I would put him in whatever committee like community awareness, but I would not figure that meant we had totally solved community awareness. If we have another person, we would sort of double book that committee.
Do you want to discuss the fact that Harold doesn't want to be on COA anymore?
Yeah, we should talk about that.
And also that Ian does not want to be chair of research.
Yeah, it's on your table.
So how many people are required for COA?
We need 5 members and 2 alternates.
Okay.
We could, we got to figure who are the 5 guests, and then we got to figure whether that allows Harold to be an alternate. It is demanding in terms of the amount of preparation and the like, and the meetings run longer than this committee or some of the others. Not that I've been to all the others. Go ahead, Tanya.
I was going to say Ian and Travis are alternates, and they're very good, and they have not indicated that they don't want to remain alternates for COA.
Right. And so if we take me off, then we got Curtis to take my spot. And so that, and then if we, so we still got Janine. So it's just a question of looking around at who else we got, that if we don't want to mess with the alternates, Harold has been imperfect on his attendance and stuff, and sometimes last minute. And so if we want to move him to another committee, we got to figure who else on the roster would be good to bring on into COA.
So I understand you said we could leave the alternates alone and find a replacement for Harold.
It could also be one of the new people.
Well, one of the new people is Curtis.
There could be 2 new people on COA is what I'm saying.
Right, you could. The whole reason for getting Curtis was because he was going to give a lot of experience and help us there where we were allowed to come up short. So,
I mean, both Sandy and Bridget have, some, historic preservation experience. Sandy in her education, and then Bridget from an archaeological standpoint. And I think she's served on
Sandy, I think has served on a commission, but it wasn't clear from her resume. I'm not sure if she was like an intern or if she was a full commissioner or what. That wasn't exactly clear, but she's also been on both sides of the fence. She's also been a staff person in planning and historic preservation, as well as on the volunteer side.
I mean, I think that either of them is as qualified as any of the other current members are.
well, do y'all want to then figure that whichever one of them gets appointed, we put that person on COA, and then we already talked about what to do with the one who doesn't get appointed.
Right.
Okay. So what did Harold say he wanted to work on?
Research.
Okay.
Well, and he's on this list that Tanya created that's got him in there with a question mark.
Right.
It leaves that would work. Just pick one of the. Hopefully, we'll know tomorrow night which one's going to be which, and we could confirm our thinking on it if we need to. But makes sense. But we need to confirm a chair for the research committee. Katie's already secretary treasurer.
Well, that doesn't eliminate her from being a chair if she's willing and has the time.
Let's see. So I still haven't found the spreadsheet, but who else we got penciled in on research?
Carolyn Gimbel. She
Well, if we have Ian there and we got Harold there, then if Katie's chair, they can still make sure it works right. Even though Katie is, I think, the youngest person on the commission. So you could do it that way, Gaston. And Gaston, remember, at the end of the day, I think it's up to you to slot the committees. We're just, the rest of us are a resource, and the staff can just speak up and say something's not going to work. Whatever.
yes. So it looks like Carolyn Gimbel is an architectural historian. She has a master's in historic preservation.
So she would be ideally suited for research.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which would work. We did have one of the non-commissioner volunteers resign, so we only have one of at the moment.
Okay. Well, that
Is that
all sounds
Caleb?
pretty good. So does
Is
that
Caleb still on or not?
I'm sorry, what?
Was that Caleb who resigned, or is he still on it? I have him down as a non-commissioned volunteer.
He's still on it. It was oh my gosh, my brain.
It's
Nicole.
Goolsby.
Nicole Goolsby.
Which just means that the committee idea works great, because it's how you find out if people will stick with it or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'd say go ahead.
Also, Tanya Culpepper, who lives in Longview Gardens and has expressed an interest. She's applied, I guess, at least twice to be on the commission. She said if she had a preference, she would prefer to be on research. And she has a real estate background.
So Gimbel and Culpepper, one commission, one non-commissioned, both non-commissioned members could be on research. I don't know if there's any worry about overloading that committee. They have lots to do and they can divide it up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So really what we're talking about is being sure we got COA covered, and then we can load up research and community awareness. Those are the ones with the most to do, right?
And the community awareness, remember, there's a kind of a priority based on our last retreat and our general consensus that they're going to have some heavy lifting, particularly if they have a role in design and testing of website capacity.
Right.
I think that they're envisioned to be to help staff or whomever to guide us in what we need to do and how it's to function, and kind of test drive it, make sure it's doing what we want it to do if we commit the dollars to recreate it as opposed to patch it up.
Right. Yeah, I think, and that really does need to happen. And so we need good people on that committee, and plenty of them. And even at that, they're going to come into it a little bit reluctant for not being aware of the sense of urgency that the rest of us have come to see in it. Tanya, so we still got a patch put on the website to try to keep it from total collapse, but the urgency still remains. Isn't that where we are?
Right. And I think the urgency still remains because it's not going to last forever. So the decision is the question is, do you want to speak to the folks in communications about moving things to the city's web platform, or do you want to fundraise to get money to build your own or use whatever dollars you have left in your nonprofit budget to build your own.
Right.
I don't know what fits in the decision-making process, but I think there was a preference, although it's a burden, to be outside of the restrictions of the cities, the framework city
At
site.
least have, yeah, I would certainly go that way if to have at least some level of freedom or discretion in it.
I actually believe the last time we talked about it with the Community Awareness Committee and with the communications team within the department at least, that there was a consensus that transferring to the city website was desirable.
Really?
But we wanted to invite the communications team to a community awareness meeting to continue that discussion, which we haven't gotten there in the past few months with preservation activities and whatnot, but it's still on the to-do list.
Okay. Well, that does sound like the next step, so you can see whether, how that's going to be and how slow the bureaucracy really is to get anything done if going that way in terms of content and the rest. We all have our own constraints at present as it is. But that's, as I said, that's a job for the committee with the right kind of input and not any kind of gut reactions. So that, I think that's all to the good, but back to the question at hand, just means we're going to need some good thinkers and talented people on that committee.
Well, and also letting the other commissioners know that they can join or they're going to be asked to step up and, do some additional working if they're not on the committee.
Didn't we have, am I misrecollecting that someone in this group of interested persons that wasn't selected to be on the commission had some kind of IT experience? Am I just assuming that or hoping that?
No, I think that's right. But
Oh, yeah,
Just-
Lucia White, she is a social media and communications something in her job title at Charge Point, whatever that is. But she didn't have any details about her education or work experience, but it does say that she is a social media and communications something or another in her paid employment.
Well, that's the strength of that committee, because between Heather Lee and Travis, and if Lucia would be willing to serve on that, they would be three people who are steeped in social media and technology, and they're youngish.
yeah, that sounds good to me.
So we're looking, kind of in summary, real quick, we're thinking as the COA, we're thinking about keeping Ian and Travis as alternate people, accepting Harold's request to be off of that and put him on research. And then between whichever Feaster and Phillips, whoever's not selected to be on the commission per se, the person that isn't, be requested to be on the whoever is selected be on the certificate of appropriateness committee.
Yeah, along with Curtis.
Along with Curtis, yes. Am I saying that right? I mean, I didn't say it very
Yes.
articulately, but I think I got it right.
Yeah, I think you got it right. And then whoever doesn't become a member goes on research.
Mhm.
I think that'll be good. And then see if Katie Pate would be willing to be chair of that, along with her other work. And really, can that committee supercharged with Ian, because basically they just bubble up an idea and Ian goes and finds stuff.
No, I think that to have Ian at her right hand makes that committee work really well.
Yeah, and this committee will also, if we get the grant for the African American study, they will also have plenty that they will be doing as well. So I should hear later this month.
Let me ask an experience question for you folks who have far more of it than I do. Do you react to situations and requests on these committee assignments, or do you review them like once a quarter loosely and just see if everybody's fitting, or ask the chair if everybody's placed well and whether they suggest that they be replaced somewhere else, or how, is there any general rule or is it all situational?
I think the way I would look at it is to get everybody slotted now. Figure that there'll still be somebody that pipes up and says, I don't really want to do that, and try to see how you can accommodate them. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you say, well, we really need you to stay where you are for this year, and we'll try to get you moved next year. But based on what we have and who's available, we really need your help on whichever it is. And then, if 6 months from now circumstances change and you know, Travis becomes a new father or whatever happens, we'll deal with those things as they come. But I don't think we start out assuming that we're gonna 6 months from now shuffle all the committees again, because we need people, we need the continuity, and people hopefully are in the middle of projects by then that need to be carried forward and finished.
Yeah, and since I've been here, it's rare to have people, you know, shuffling committees, except usually with COA. And if somebody moves off of COA, then that sometimes causes shifting in the other committees as well. Speaking of other committees, right now, Gaston, you're the only person on nominations committee once these other fine folk leave. So, and I know, you know, y'all don't start meeting in January, but until January again. But
So,
Yeah, I'm trying to.
So Gaston, I would be looking at who is in the 3rd year class or whatever the 6th year class, and thinking about using them in that way, because they've got the most experience in it, and you can tell who's coming along. I don't remember if that's going to be Janine or who it is, or it's probably going to need to be Ian and Janine are the people you would look for probably.
Yeah, I think Janine especially. Remind me real quick, I see the list at the bottom, Tanya, of the ad hoc committees, and the people have been volunteering before, and Jenny Willoff and Jimmy Thiem. Who was the other fella from who was active in the community awareness committee? At least he was when I was on it. He rolled off. He'd been on a couple times. He was knowledgeable.
John Henshaw.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Travis, his term ends in June of 22, and he will not be eligible for reappointment.
Wow, hard to believe, really. But anyway, if that's the case, then.
And he is the only one who will be not eligible for reappointment on this current list.
Well, he could.
Who's in his 3rd term?
He could be on the nomination committee though, right? Because their work will
Oh
be.
yeah, well that would
Yeah.
be the point. So if it were me, Gaston, I think I'd go with Travis and Janine and you.
Yeah.
For that committee.
And as we get closer to the hard deadline of ramping up, and we all saw the benefit of early promotion, of starting to think about who the leaders are and not waiting till the last minute. Kay and Nick ramped that awareness up really quickly, and I think it served us well because weren't in a rush, as mostly happens.
Yeah, if she has time, I think Vershay may also be a good person for nominations. She's involved in other organizations and may have some connections that way.
Well, and there's also something we got to pay attention to is our demographics on that. The people that know people, we might not just only know them from the work we do together and not outside that. And we often develop people who are really good members outside of our immediate group of friends.
I was backing off of Vershay mostly because she's going to be the COA chair and it's going to be a load. And Janine backed away from it, so I'm trying to use her as many other ways as we can instead.
I
But you're
think
right.
Janine may be overloaded as well, since she's still got to pull the COA sleigh and serve on executive. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I was actually thinking that Harold might be a good addition to nominations because he's also got his fingers in the architecture world.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's kind of a series of small meetings and some individual work, or Kay did a lot of work, but you know what I mean? It's not like you're having a lengthy continuous meeting like COA.
Right.
Good suggestion.
At least early on, the nomination piece is mostly about just trying to remember to tell folks it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
And you're also responsible for orientation of new members.
That's right.
All right.
Well, anyway, with Kay's help, the committee has really worked well for a couple of years, I think. And so it will be good if next year can run off of her playbook.
Yeah, she's done a great job. Looking at the ad hoc committees, Nick, I moved you down on Lustron to be a non-commissioned volunteer. I'm assuming you'll want to stay involved with that, please.
Yeah, I will do that. And
Thanks.
it, you know, and let's see now. So how long has Lori been off of the commission now, and she can't get loose from it? But yeah,
Same for Jenny.
we got to find a way to get that darn thing done. But yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So, okay, what else? How else can we help out here, Tanya, Gaston?
We need to summarize again real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Do we need to summarize real quick what we think our suggestions are?
Do you want me to read what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick up what you didn't hear.
All right. So for research committee, we're looking at Katie Pate for chair. So Gaston or somebody or Kay will need to reach out and see if she's willing. And then Ian and Susan and Harold, with non-commissioner volunteers being Caleb, and then Carolyn Gimble and Tanya Culpepper, and then potentially either Sandy Feaster or Bridget Phillips, depending on who gets appointed. For community awareness, nothing changes there except for the potential addition of Lucia or Lucia White. For COA, we've got Vershay as chair, and then Curtis and Janine and John with either Sandy or Bridget. And then the alternates remain the same, Ian and Travis. And for nominations, we've got Gaston, Travis, Janine, and Harold.
I think that works. Is that kind of the group recollection? Anybody have any additions, corrections?
Gaston, would you be the chair for nominations?
Oh, God.
Or someone, we need a chair. That's, I'm just, since you're chair of it all, it's,
I'll
that
be
just
the,
seemed
I'll
to
be
me.
the organizing chair, which means I call the first meeting and then. Well, for the purposes of being responsible for making sure we start doing our work, yes.
And I think, Tanya, we also had Mike Davis as a non-commissioned member of
Okay.
community awareness.
Thank you.
They,
And Daniel Chavis, is that right? Or was that just a discussion?
Well, I sent him an email last week. I haven't heard from him either about, if he really wanted to do that and to send his, resume so we would see where he would fit best. But so, I mean, he can always be added.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I can do it offline, I guess, to talk to Kay and Tanya, not to waste the others' time. I have, I think, a set of resumes, but I'm not sure it's complete. So rather than take up our time here, I'll just talk to you guys offline and tell you the ones I have and see if you can fill in the blanks. I like to study people's backgrounds because I think it's the responsibility of a chair to kind of understand the people they're being asked to work and stuff like that.
Yep, just let us know who you're missing and we should, or the other way around.
I have, and you can let me know who I'm
Okay.
missing. How about that?
Gotcha, that works. Do you want me to send out the revised draft document?
Please.
Okay.
And if you need to note on there we haven't confirmed or asked, rather than wait to confirm or ask, let's just go and put them in there. And you don't have to redline people, I don't think,
Okay, all right.
unless you want to, and that's fine.
Well, I mean, it won't get published until July 1 anyway. We'll keep the current one out there.
So now, for purposes of the meeting tomorrow morning, Gaston, do you want to say what we're talking about doing, or do you want to wait and be sure you've thought that through and deal with it at the July business meeting and put a sheet of paper out there with everybody on it?
How much of a burden does it put on Tanya to retype her list here, and so we'd actually have something to look at, that they would have something to look at, as opposed to saying, oh, we'll deal with it July meeting, excuse me.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure whether you're wanting, what you want me to do and what you want Kay to do to help you all get moving. That's all I'm thinking about. It's fine to wait, but I just thinking ahead about the agenda for tomorrow morning.
Yeah, anybody have a recommendation, strong preference, the way group decision making, with it, any advantage in doing it now as opposed to then, or doing it both?
So what I have seen in the past is you haven't announced anything until you've actually spoken to the person in advance.
And I think that really is pretty convincing that we better be sure what we got.
Yeah. And, because Harold wants to go, but we haven't said we'd like you to go, and we'd furthermore like you to be on the nomination committee, so I think we probably need to touch base with him. And Katie hadn't yet said she's willing to be chair of research, so we have a little bit of, I assume Curtis is willing to be chair, right? I mean, pardon me.
You should ask.
He's already confirmed, right?
No.
Verche.
I thought y'all
Verche
had,
is going to be chair of
COA,
COA.
which that's confirmed.
We've
right?
made
Yes.
we made clear to Curtis why we needed him back. And so
Yeah.
I think he's expecting that. And he came into it thinking that it wasn't going to be that much more than what he was already doing at the DRAC. And that was sort of how we sold that.
Okay.
So
So I unless anybody has any counter suggestions, I think it'd be best maybe to touch base with these people before we say they're on. This,
All
that,
right.
or the other.
Yeah, and then you can, once the appointments are set, it'll get, put out there, and then you just announce it in July. It doesn't need to require a vote or anything. It's just you as chair saying this is who's been appointed.
Yeah.
Where.
All right. It all sounds good. We will talk again in the morning, no doubt. Anything else? If not,
Quick question. Any stumbling blocks on Lustron, or we got buyer's remorse or potential buyer's remorse going on, or what do we know?
it is moving at a glacial pace, and I'm concerned that
All right.
that's where we are.
At a pace slower than paint dries, whether it's baked on or mechanically applied or factory authorized.
Yeah. So, Kay, I was horning in here, but it's your meeting, so you be the one to adjourn this meeting, not me.
Oh, okay. So Gaston, what are you gonna call us about the resumes, or you want to stay on after this meeting is over, or what?
But whatever you like to do, I got them right here in front of me, so I can tell you what I got in my notebook. If I don't have them in my notebook,
Well, I'll defer to Tanya for the best.
I want to just send you an email with the list of names I have.
Okay.
That's easier for me, and then I can just reply with the ones that you're missing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I will drop off and spend this time studying the agenda for tomorrow instead. Talk to you later.
I think we're through. So unless anybody has anything else, then I will declare this meeting adjourned.
All right.
And we'll see you in the morning.
See you in the morning. Thank you
All
for
right.
the whole thing, Kay.